We try really wild things, like the whole corn ice thing. We came up with it in a meeting and we had a board artist execute it. And just right off the bat was like, this is crazy and it actually works.
It was really fun to watch them. Like they'd give us like a double take. Wait, you really want me to like say it this way? And we're like, yes, dude, just do it.
Hi, I'm Maggie Kang.
Hi, I'm Kang and Appelhans.
And we are the directors of K-pop Demon Hunters. And we are about to go behind the scenes. I always knew I wanted to do something set in Korean culture, and for some reason, demonology, and specifically the black cat, like demons that are the Grim Reapers of Korea, was the most like iconic thing that I wanted to see in the movie, and knew that I wanted to lean into those guys as the villains when it became this K-pop project.
It was interesting because I'm a very visual person, so usually every movie I develop, it starts with images. Ami Thompson and Helen Chen were our first two artists doing paintings, and they did some incredible paintings of our interpretation of the OG hunters, the women in Korean history who did this stuff. But I think actually the moment we were often pitching the movie around this idea of like the power of music and that kind of feeling, the butterflies you get in a
idea of music and the feeling you get, we really wanted to lean into that as like a superpower and a magical force in our movie. And that's the force that powers the whole movement, which is the barrier. And with the K-popness of it, I think what's so unique and special about K-pop is how much the fans are engaged with the idols. And there's kind of this very special relationship between idol and fan where there's so much give and take and this kind of love and friendship almost that is created. And so we really wanted the fans to be part of fueling this power that the hunters hold. And at the very end, in the climax, when the entire stadium starts to sing and gives Rumi that boost of power, is us pay tribute to that special connection that the fans play in these idols' lives.
Mayday, mayday! There's 10,000 fans at the door screaming. It's sounding really scary.
Our first thing with performance was, this is true of all things in animation. It's not a photocopy of reality. It's not a recreation, it's a distillation. You're distilling a movement or a shape or a silhouette. And in doing so, the artist has control of that. And you could just do motion capture, something that has its own pros and cons, but Sony ImageWorks has an incredible team of animators. And so we talked a lot about, let's look at the choreography and the performance, and let's not just copy it, let's distill it so that they perform in a way that's unique to animation. Josh Beveridge is our head of animation, and we had 70, 80, at times 100 incredible animators that were all bringing their lifetime of skill to every shot. So what's so cool about animation?
We create the entire movie in drawings first, and our editor, Nathan Schaff, takes all these images and it gets edited and timed, and we put temp voices, existing music before we actually create original score and song. And so that's kind of our working reel that we dive into and fix. You know, sometimes we take it apart completely and put it back together, and sometimes it's just certain scenes or certain moments. We use this program called Miro, which is like a digital bulletin board. And we had these huge Miro boards full of GIFs and still images from music videos or magazines that we just piled on there for inspiration for all the artists. And it just became this huge library of information that we had been working on and collected for like, I don't know, 3-4 years.
And it's like a 3-minute sequence in Animatic, like Maggie's describing. I could have anywhere from 150 to 500 storyboards. So you take that times 90 minutes and you're looking at 10,000 drawings. And then I think it's one of the least understood parts of animation is how important the story artists are and how essential they are to the writing and creating of these films.
Animation works very differently from live action. With live action, you really, usually you hone down on a script and you go and shoot, and shoots are very expensive. So you kind of get like 1 or 2 tries, in a day to shoot that one scene. In animation, we have the freedom to recut everything and play around with scenes and rearrange moments and beats. And we try really wild things, like the whole corn ice thing. We came up with it in a meeting and we had a board artist execute it, and just right off the bat was like, this is crazy and it actually works. And then there's certain things like some of the date sequences, took a lot of rewriting because the shots kind of remained the same, but what the characters needed to say changed quite a bit depending on like how we were creating the moments around that scene.
We're in this pretty neat era now where international filmmakers are so well known and respected that like probably the third time Maggie and I were sitting talking about the movie as collaborators, we started talking about the host and Bong Joon-ho and like his tonal ability to like put things that I'm like, you can't do that. You can't do horror and comedy right there, right next to each other. And he does it, and it opens your mind to like a tone. And we talk about him as fans, and all of a sudden, without having to like talk more than 5 minutes, Maggie and I kind of know where the other one's head is at with like how we think the movie could work tonally. And it's so nice that we're in this era where those kind of influences can make their way to us, and then as such into the animation genre that people think has a pretty limited scope. One of my favorite things when Maggie first talked to me about this, she's like, I want to do some girls that are weird, do weird stuff and are real and like angry and frustrated and thirsty and all these things that maybe are not celebrated as like aspirational female superhero traits. And I was like, oh my God, let's do it. So with all of our voice actresses, it took a few sessions to almost create permission for like, no, we want you to be like be yourselves. It was really fun to watch them. Like they'd give us like a double take. Wait, you really want me to like say it this way? And we're like, yes, dude, just do it.
Why do they always interrupt our snacking?
Maggie did a lot of the scratch in the movie with just the temp voices. So she gets to like Rumi like chugging a Kpop like it's a milkshake. She makes all the funny noises, and that lives in the storyboards, and the actor sees that and they're like, oh, that's hilarious. And then that sound drives animation. So they don't start animating until they have that as a baseline, and then they elevate it in great ways.
And I was like, guys, you guys are making a musical. And we're like, no, this is not a musical. It's just pop music. And we quickly realized, oh no, he was right. And every piece of music that was in the movie had to be a banging pop song, but it also had to serve his character and story. And he made us answer a lot of really tough questions about character and story that we were like, oh no, that's the one thing that we can't figure out right now, Ian. And so it became these like story meetings. And I think that's why the music is resonating with so many people, because it's really good music, but the lyrics are really good as well. So whether you tie them in with the movie and remembering the characters, or like they also just live on their own, as like Takedown, for example, we always talked about that as like a song that you would sing to your ex that you're bad at. And it's a perfect song for that, but it's also for the demon boys. So always thinking about the kind of dual facets of these songs.
And above all, Ian is a true lover of music. It's the love of his life, you know? And so when we're setting out to make a movie that tried to honor that power of it, and Maggie and I joked about this, we'd meet with all these incredible musicians, Teddy Park, and then Ian, and then different songwriters like EJ and Lindgren. There's so many. And we'd pitch them the movie and we'd be all nervous about like, I don't know if they're gonna like this. And then they'd be like, do you want to make a movie about like music as like a literal soul-touching superpower? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, well, of course we want to do that. What are you talking about? It's our life. We're like, oh, really?
Maggie and Chris, thank you so much for this conversation. This was really amazing. I'm so excited for fans to get a behind the curtain look at how this film was made, and hopefully that leads to more within a possible franchise in the future. Let's hope. So thank you both so much for your time.
Thanks, Michael.
Hey, Michael.